All right, well, welcome. Welcome to our first Gymwood Speaker Series for the fall. If you haven't gotten the fall announcement, it's there for you. There's some extra copies over here. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail for Lisa because you have the handout and you can see what she has accomplished. And I met Lisa a year ago, about a year ago. She was interviewing for the Small Business of the Year Award, Clayton County. And I remember asking her a couple of questions. And one of the questions we asked is, what was the hardest thing you did in business? And as a result of her answer is the reason why she's here. I'm not going to give you her answer. We're going to leave that up to her. But she has her own business. She is an alumni of Clayton State. 10 years ago, correct?
Woo woo.
Not to age you, but 10 years. She made
10
it.
years.
She's successful. She's an entrepreneur. She has a lot of good things to tell you. And I'm glad you're here to listen because she's going to give you a lot of lessons learned. And this is the best way of finding what other people have gone through that you now can prepare for and maybe circumvent the same issues. But with that, one more statement on my part. I got 6 more seats left for my Savannah trip. So if anybody's interested, see me. Money talks, nobody walks. That's the only way you buy us that seat, okay? So I only got 6 left. So I just want to get that through. So with that said, I want to pass the podium over to Lisa Williams.
Thank you. Can y'all hear me okay? Yes. Okay, because I can't hear myself. Before I go into a little bit of telling you about how I started my business and the background of what I do, I wanted to ask you how many of you are prepared today and ready to go out into the work world? Hold those hands up a little higher. 100% sure that you're ready today if I offered you a job.
All right.
Okay. Now I am going to put somebody on the spot, okay? So the first hand that I think I saw go up is this young lady in the yellow, the one that turned around. I have tell me your name.
Hi, I'm Ambriana Smith.
Ambriana. And what year are you?
Senior.
Senior. Oh, senior. Uh-oh. Congratulations. I have a question for you. You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Tell me about a situation in which you had to lead several other people to achieve a goal.
Okay. My current employer, which is Bank of America, just a regular peer. So that's data entry from checks to supplemental keying from internal and external clients. And we have a sensitive client that processes your health care and different things of that nature. And normally you have to work your way up in order to keep this particular client account because it's very sensitive. And we had a group of new people that came in, and then for the time that they were scheduled, which is our high impact time. So I was in charge of course, training all the new employers to get them to a position where they can keep this sensitive account coming right in the door. And of course, I did it. So now I'm in charge of training all new employees for this particular account.
That is an excellent response. Now, let me tell you why I asked that question. And normally I have prizes, but today has been really crazy, so I don't have any prizes, but I'm going to have to get your information because that was an excellent answer. Does anybody have any idea what I was going for in asking her that question? Surely you have been by the Career Resource Center. Surely you know what I just tested her with. Mr. Michigan.
You're asking her behavioral-based questions.
That is exactly what I was asking her. And if you are not prepared for behavioral questions and answering them, you're out of luck. because pretty much anywhere that you go now that you're interviewing, they're going to ask you behavioral questions. And they're going to ask you probably anywhere from 4 to 6 behavioral questions. So you need to go prepared with at least 6 answers already before you go. So that was just a little icebreaker that I wanted to do, and you passed the test very well. Congratulations. We'll come back to that a little bit later because that's very important for you all. Even myself as a small business, I'm moving to that method, even for people that are coming to attend my school for certain programs and finding out what their behaviors are. So let me go backwards and tell you a little bit more about what I do. In addition to what you've seen on the flyers, my name is Lisa Williams, and I am the founder and the director of training of On-Site Computer Training. And what we are is we are a computer training school in Forest Park where we provide mostly Microsoft Office training, help people prepare to earn their specialist certifications with Microsoft. And then in addition to that, we help them with the job readiness portion also so that they can go back and transition into new careers. Most of my students are probably, I'd say the average age is early 50s to mid 50s. So my students are adults who are transitioning into new careers. Maybe they were laid off from somewhere that they worked 20, 30 years, and now they are forced to learn about the information age. Do I have any of those people in here? Just one? Just one? Okay. Can you hear me okay?
You may have to raise this up a little bit.
Is that better? Yes. Any better? Okay. All right, but in addition to that, I just wanted to let you know about that's one of my programs that I do at my facility, but we also offer classes to the public, to any age group where there are people who are looking to enhance their skills. Most of those people are people who are already in corporate America and they're looking to enhance their skills. Maybe they want to know how to do pivot tables. Maybe they need to know how to do a mail merge in Word. Maybe they need to know how to create calendars and keep schedules in Outlook. So we also offer those type of workshops in addition to the full program that we do for those people that are looking to transition. Now, how I got started, I actually started off in the airline industry as a trainer. And someone else saw in me something that I didn't see. And so that led me to becoming the director of training in the airline industry. So I started off with primarily customer service training. But once I got a promotion and I moved to Virginia, I was responsible for over 300 employees, which kind of led me into the computer application side. Basically, I was thrown into it because I was forced to use spreadsheets. I was forced to type memos. I was forced to do scheduling for those employees. So that kind of led me into the computer applications, which in turn led me into doing the training for computer applications. So when I left Virginia, came back to Atlanta, this was around 96, I think. Right when the Olympics was going on, I decided that I wanted to go and work for a computer institution, which at that time it was New Horizons, which is one of the larger computer training schools. And I worked for them for about a year and a half, and developed the skills that I felt that I needed in order to be a good trainer, to enhance my knowledge, because again, remember, I started off in the airline industry in customer service. So my skill set was a little bit different. It was more so in customer service, not in computer applications. I was self-taught, basically, is what I'm trying to hint to. So then when I landed the job at New Horizons, it was primarily because of my training style, my ability to facilitate, and that's why they hired me. Everything else I had to learn from sitting in on other instructors' classes or just studying on my own. So from that, after doing that, as I mentioned, for about a year and a half, I quickly realized, or at least I thought, this is something I can do for myself. You know, other people saw that in me and they kept saying, you can do this yourself, you can do this yourself. And so the more that nagged at me, then I said, well, I could do this myself. But what I decided to do was to go back to school. When I graduated from high school, I went to Georgia State. At that time, I had no idea what I wanted to be when I grew up. I was 18. So, you know, I had several majors. I majored in about 10 different things. I was a career student. So once I finally realized what I wanted to do, at least I thought that I realized what I wanted to do, that's what brought me back to Clayton State. And I attended here 2 years and got my degree, a BIT. And my major concentration was networking at that time. So while I was at Clayton State taking classes on the continuing education side, I was actually teaching classes. So I ended up teaching in continuing education for about 7 years, doing what I'm currently doing on my own. So that's kind of how on-site computer training birthed. I was doing it just as an individual, independent contractor. And then I quickly realized that it was something I wanted to do on my own. I wanted to have my own school. And so I just thought I could do it. So big thing that I did, I just jumped out there. Guess what I didn't have though? What do you think I didn't have? Well, definitely money. I didn't have a plan. I didn't have a plan. I didn't have any capital. And also, there were several, because of the degree that I had, there were several classes. There were some skill sets that I was missing, like business. I didn't have any business knowledge, you know, any business sense. That wasn't required in my major. So I didn't have any of that. So one of the things that I did want to share with you, first of all, how many of you are interested in being an entrepreneur? You want your own business? Okay. How many of you are ready to start tomorrow your own business? Okay. About 5 people. All right. Well, I'm not surprised that the hands went down at all. I'm actually surprised that some hands went up. So you all have a business plan? Someone's looked over your business plan besides you? No? Okay.
Hopefully they're legal.
Yeah, you definitely, okay, let me ask again then. How many of you, out of the, it looks like 5 that raise your hand, you have a solid business plan. Someone else has looked at it. Okay. Okay, so has someone else looked at it besides you? Yes. Yes, in your case, yes. Okay. Well, that's one piece of advice. Not just your eyes. Someone else needs to look at it. You need to have a business consultant, a service that is free to you right here on campus. So you need to have someone else look at that plan that can give you some guidance. That's something that I learned later. And I did, let me ask you this. How many of you that have the business plans went online, Googled business plan, and you followed a template? Okay. That's what I did too. I did the same thing. It sounded good. You can Google everything. You can YouTube anything, right? So that's exactly what I did. But there's a lot more to that. That's fine, but you still need some guidance and someone to give you some advice on some, definitely some figures. That's probably the hardest part, forecasting. If you've never had a business before, how do you forecast? How do you forecast what you're going to make in the future if you don't have any money right now? So those are some of the things that I struggled with. I wrote a business plan. When I got to the part that talked about money, I stopped. And then I didn't go back to it. I kept trying to figure out, I don't know how I'm going to do this part. I don't know how to forecast money I don't have yet. So that's where you can get some advice from the wonderful people at the Small Business Development Center. So that's one thing for sure. If I had to put myself on a scale of 1 to 10 to share with you how prepared I think that I was before I started my business, I would probably say a 4. Does that surprise you? No. This is before. Well, this is me just sharing with you now. Just, I would put myself as a 4 as far as how prepared I was when I jumped out there and I just started. I was like, oh, this is how I just need to get an EIN. I need to get, do this, do that, do a notice of intent in the paper. But, oh, okay, that's all I got to do to start a business? That's what I thought. And that's what I did. I went to everything in Georgia that was free that talked about anything that had to, to do with starting up a business, but that still was not enough. It still is not enough. So one of the things, the reason that I say that is there are certain skills that I did possess, or I do possess, and when I first started, like communication skills, leadership. Those are some of the things that I did possess. Technical skills, of course, professional skills. But there were 2 things, main things that I can think of that I did not possess, and that actually, one, I've gotten better. The other one I haven't. You'll probably know which one is the one I gotten better and which one I have not. But one that I did not possess was analytical skills and critical thinking skills. That's huge. That is huge, and I'm sure you hear that over and over and over again. I remember when I took my critical thinking class here, and I'm not going to share who my professor was, but it may be the same person. But I remember I hated that class. It was so difficult to me. I just was not a critical thinker. And I remember that I thought my teacher was crazy because she told us all that, she had a little retarded man inside her head. And if you all have had her and she said that, you probably know who she is. That I remember thinking, this woman is just crazy. None of this stuff makes sense to me. But it is something that I had to develop and learn about and implement in my life because it is important. Now, the other one that I did not possess is time management. So that's the one I'm still working on. That one, it's very difficult, especially now when we live in this information age where, you got your smartphone, you got your tablet, you have, your laptop. Most of us have all 3. And, there's always some way for people to get in touch with you. You never have a moment to just wind down. You do have to figure out a way to give yourself some time or strategize your time, especially if you have like 3 different emails. That's one of the struggles that I currently have. I have an email here that has 1,000 in the inbox and another one that has another 2,000 in the inbox. And so you have to figure out and set aside, you actually have to put it on your calendar when to check email. Because what I had a bad habit of doing is checking email all day long, which takes away from time of me being productive during the day in my business. So those are some of the time management, or just one example of a time management issue. And then myself, I quickly learned to enhance my business that networking, the importance of networking. And so I joined, in the beginning, I couldn't afford the chamber. So what I did was I found out that there was something called Forest Park Business Coalition. I joined that because it was cheaper at the time. And I learned to network with other business owners in Forest Park. And so that helped me tremendously. And then eventually I did join the chamber and became very active. That's another thing. You join all these different professional organizations and become involved on committees and boards. And I do all of that, but I'm very active in all of those that I sit on. I sit on 2 committees with the chamber. I sit on another committee with Southern Regional Medical Center. I went through Leadership Clayton, and I just involved myself in several activities that I knew would help enhance my business. And all of that networking, it has done that. And so a lot of the people, like Professor M, that's one of the ways that we were introduced because of my involvement with the chamber and being recognized as a finalist for Small Business of the Year. And so that's how we met. So that's also something that's important. One of the things, there's a couple of things that I wanted to share with you. I wrote some points. that in order for you, there are a lot of people that said they wanted to be entrepreneurs. But even if it's not, if that's not the route that you want to take, if you're just wanting to go into corporate America or whatever your goal is, there were just a few key points that I wrote for myself that I wanted to share with you. And one, of course, I know you hear this all the time, but set professional goals. You know, set the goal, write it down, look at it every day. You need to set a goal so that when you set that goal and you write it down, you can cross it off. You know, it's just like your bucket list. How many people have a bucket list? I have one. And I probably have over 100 things on my bucket list, and I've probably accomplished about 20. So I have a long way to go. But I have some really crazy things on my bucket list that I want to do, so I still have a long way to go. But it's the same way with the goals. You write it down, you see it. You know, if you look at it every day, you can cross it off and know that you've accomplished it, and then you have a sense of accomplishment. Another thing is gaining real world work experience to prepare for your future career. How many of you have or are doing internships or externships? Not a lot of people. What about volunteering? Okay. Well, you do. Gaining that real world work experience is going to be very important for you also. A lot of people miss out on those opportunities, and I think it's important that if you place yourself in a position to network and meet people that can pull you in, then that's one of the ways that you can gain work experience. You need that real work experience to help you, because one of the things, particularly if you're in the younger generation, you know, I'm gonna put myself in the old folks category. We old folks seem to think that you all just like to, you know, you get a job. If you don't like it, you jump to the next one, and you jump to the next one, and you jump to the next one. And that's what the younger generation seems to have a tendency to do, because one of the reasons that they say that you all do that is because you feel like that you can just get a job easily. Anybody out there that believe that? Well, let me say it. Let me change it a different way. You feel that you can get a job quicker than someone that's older than you. How many of you feel that?
Again, depends on the job.
Depends on the job. Okay. Well, I'll say this. Just don't think that. Okay, because you just heard what I told you. You know, I'm teaching and training people who are in their mid-50s, early 50s, training them to become Microsoft Office specialists. They're earning their certifications, and those certifications play a big part today in getting a job. Most of you have probably seen, if you're looking for a job, you've seen that they're looking for those skills, those technology skills, and they're going to test you to make sure that you know those skills. It's not a matter of you just saying that you know it. It's not a matter of you just saying that you graduated from college. And the other thing that's being sought out sometimes, like you said, it depends on where, is a mature adult. You know, someone who's not going to sit at the front desk as the administrative specialist that's doing this right here. So you have to be careful with that. There's this thought process I want you to know that's out there, you know, and that's what it seems. That's the feeling that's felt about the younger generation. So I just kind of wanted to put that out there for you all. Also, choosing your classes wisely is another one. Even though, as I mentioned, my degree is Bachelor Information Technology. But I was sharing earlier at dinner that there's this one particular class that would have been very important for me as an entrepreneur that it was never required for me to take. Anybody want to guess what that class was? Accounting. I never was required to take accounting. I never took accounting. So when I jumped out there to start my business, guess what I didn't know anything about? Accounting. I didn't know anything about keeping books or anything like that. I knew how to do my little checkbook. But, as far as running a business and accounting and learning of all these different terms, COGs, accounts payable, accounts receivable, I was like, what? What does that mean? I was probably at least 3 years into my business before I finally was like, okay, I came here to the state and I went to see Alyssa. How many of you know Alyssa? Nobody? Not yet? A couple of people? So I went to see her and I said, help me. I have no idea what this stuff means. I've been running my business and just by the grace of God, I've survived all these years, but I don't know what these terms mean and I need you to explain it to me. Like I'm 4 years old, because I'm older now and I need you to explain it to me like I'm 4. And she did. She helped me to understand a lot and it helped bring a lot of clarity, and it helped me to understand how important accounting was for me and my business. So the reason I bring that to your attention is just because your major has certain requirements of classes, you might need to make sure that whatever it is that you're planning on doing in your future, that there's some other classes that you might want to make sure that you also implement, not just the ones that are required. Does that make sense? Because you can imagine how crazy I was realizing that, okay, I have no idea how to do even basic accounting. I'd never taken a bookkeeping course or anything. So that was something that I had to learn along the way. Building relationships, that's very important also. I have some relationships with some wonderful people that are powerful, and it may be powerful because of who they are or because of who their resources are. So your building relationships is very important as well. Let's see. How many of you have heard of Leadership Clayton before? Is there anybody that's ever heard of that? A couple of people? Okay. The only reason that I bring that point up, you have to be nominated for it. It's that type of organization, or you can self-nominate. But it's a type of organization that it really helps to make you a more well-rounded person about your community. And there's Leadership Atlanta, Leadership Cobb, if you live somewhere else. But leadership is, I feel that that's something also that is very important in your moving forth, especially if you're planning on being an entrepreneur, or even if you're planning on working in a corporate society. And with Leadership Clayton, what it does is it introduces you to all the different aspects in your community, like social, health. You learn about the judicial system. You learn about the educational system. So it's a very well-rounded, I think it's like a 10-month program where you're introduced to all of these different elements. And it's a great program. So if there's anybody that's really interested in doing anything that's in leadership, I just want to kind of solicit that, because I think it's a great program that would help you. Any organizations that you have here on campus that deal with leadership, because I've been gone a long time, so I'm really not for certain what those are, but anything dealing with leadership also, I think would definitely help you prepare. And there's a lot of free services out here. Do y'all have any questions before I go further about anything that I've said so far? No questions? Yes.
Does your organization get like grants or anything, any types that come from the government?
Not grants. We don't get grants, but I do have a contract with the state of Georgia. I'm an eligible provider for the state of Georgia. So the students that come to me in the daytime, they're all unemployed, and the state pays for them to come to classes. So, outside of grants, there are other programs where you can be a vendor for different counties and or the state. Okay. Any other questions? I got one. How many of you are here because you just need to hear me speak so you can get points for class? Good question, huh? Because y'all so quiet. Whatever works. You have a question?
How much your organization charges for getting Microsoft certification?
The actual certification itself? Well, Microsoft charges. It's about $100 for you to test in one application. You know, if you want.
How many applications are there in Microsoft?
There are 5.
5?
There are 5.
Thank you.
And 2 of them, they have an expert version. Word and Excel, you can test and become an expert, but the other ones are just core. Yes?
How much do you charge for your courses?
Well, you know what? That information I'll give you once I wrap up. I promise I will, because it's a wide range of prices. We have workshops and we have full classes, but I'll give you that information. Okay?
I don't have enough time to teach my grandparents.
Okay, see, I do that for you. I do that all the time. Yeah, plus you can't teach them because you'll just take the mouse and you'll say, oh, just do this, Grandma. I know what you do. Yes. Michigan?
Your largest barrier, I guess, in finding clients when you first started, and how did you overcome that?
Say the first part again. I couldn't hear
What
you.
was your largest barrier or in finding clients? How did you overcome that when you first started?
Yes, that marketing, that's a very good question. And I had that on my list to talk about too. Probably my largest barrier just overall would be capital. You know, that was my largest barrier. But what I did is what most people do, go to family and friends first. So, you know, once I was able to show them my vision and I got them to believe and sell them on what I was doing, then I got family and friends to help me. So that was the biggest thing, was capital. I didn't have any money. Remember, I jumped out there, y'all. Just was like, I could do this. So I just jumped out there. Literally. I'm not exaggerating. I just jumped out there. Now, as far as getting the client, I have a storefront, very visible. I knew that location was prime. And so I picked a very good location with heavy traffic, walking and in car. So I'm very visible in the location that I have. So that was the first thing. But then after that, because of my low capital, I didn't know how I was going to do this marketing thing. So what I started off doing, of course, was and I'll admit it, but I'll deny it if you tell anybody, but I probably was a little bit of a spammer in the beginning, because, I would email my friends' friends and their friends and their friends, about the classes that I was offering. That was the easiest way and the cheapest way for me to get the word out, because in the beginning, I didn't have any money for marketing. I didn't have a marketing budget. So that's one of the ways. And then going back to what I said earlier was getting involved in what was in my community. That's what really helped me, was joining that Forest Park Business Coalition. And then definitely once I got involved in the chamber. But again, these are things that, it's kind of like church. You can be a member at church, but nobody might not know you. You could go to the same church for 20 years and no one knows who you are. You have to be an active member. So it's the same thing with the chamber or any organization that you join. Did that answer your question? Okay. White
Do you
t-shirt.
have any plans of having multiple locations now? Or
Yes. Actually working on that right now. Actually, my mentee is here, and we are working on opening up in a location for her in Griffin. And then lately, for some reason, I've been getting a lot of inquiries from people that want me to come here and there. Oh, you need to come to LaGrange. Oh, you need to come. So, yes. So right now, actually, what I am trying to do, I'm at that point in my business. It's 6 years. This year was 6 years for my storefront. And I'm at that point where I'm trying to pull myself out of the business so that I can work on the business. Right now, I'm still in the business too much. I teach classes every day. I taught class this morning. So I'm trying to pull myself out to work more on the business so that I can continue to grow and expand. Let me get this young lady right here who answered my question.
Oh, he took my question.
Oh, he took your question? Okay, you took her question. There was one other one. Was it somebody over there? Okay, I'll take it.
Would you recommend just jumping out there? Because a lot of times people second guess themselves, and that's why nothing gets accomplished. So how do you feel about
Just jumping out there?
yeah?
Now, of course, I would say no. I would say no because, you know, if you read the statistics, and statistics are true, most businesses fail. You know, most people fail because everybody has a great idea. You know, there are a lot of us just in this room that have a great idea. But, you know, I think for me what helped is I did a lot of things before starting my business that helped equip me, and I knew that they would bring in revenue for me. For example, before I started my business, I was doing this as an independent contractor. So most of the times I was a subcontractor for people that were primed. So these people, once I caught on to, they would go out, they would get these wonderful contracts or grants like you mentioned, but they would hire me to do the training because they didn't know how to provide the training. So I kept doing that over and over and over again. And that's when I realized, that's why I kept telling myself, I can do this myself. I can do this myself because I'm counting heads. I'm looking at what they're paying me, and I'm counting in the audience. I'm like, man, they're getting $800 for each head, and they paying me $17 an hour. They're paying me $45 an hour. I'm like, this math doesn't make sense. And so, you know, that's what made me jump out there. But I gained experience from doing that for other people, so I knew what to do. You know, I just didn't know the business side. You know, that's the side I had to work on. So I wouldn't say jump out there, but let's say if there was someone, you had a colleague that had the missing parts that you know, what you're missing, your colleague had, then you two come together and make it happen or something like that. But I wouldn't advise just jumping out there because I've been fortunate. I've been fortunate. Did your question get answered?
No, did you have any plans of making your services available to younger age groups?
Yes, we've been working on that for a while. One of the reasons we just hadn't been able to do it is because we've been doing the program for the state so long. They've been kind of taking up all my day classes. So what we're working on, we're in the process, hopefully before the end of this year, moving into a bigger space that will help us have the ability to provide more than one class at the same time. Because right now I just have two classrooms. One is a computer classroom, one is just like a general lab with tables and laptops. And we've had to use it as an overflow. But now what we're getting ready to do is hopefully expand, move into a bigger space so that we can provide services to all different ages. We'll be on time.
So we have time later for Q&A.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, hold on to your questions. I just had just a few more nuggets that I wanted to share with you. And these really were some bullet points that I wrote down about the skills, some of the skills that I feel that you all need and should have. Of course, I'm going to say some of the computer skills that I think that you should have, like Excel and Access, the two that people usually are the most scared about, Excel and Access. And I have to say this, you know, if you've been using Excel and or Access, you used it in high school, you've been using it here while you're in college at Clayton State, one of the things that usually scares me, and I shared this with many people before, is people who say that they're proficient. And they hold on to the fact that they're proficient in that application. Well, I'm going to tell you this. I just want to share this with you. Microsoft's definition of what proficient is totally different than what your definition of proficient. You know, what we cover in our basic classes at my school is totally different than what you probably think is basic. In our basic class, we're already covering formulas and functions in Excel. You know, in an access class, in our basic class, you're learning about tables and queries in the basic class. So, in forms and reports, all of that is considered basic to Microsoft. So I'm saying that to you so that as you do get, you know, start preparing yourselves for employment and you're wondering why you're not getting noticed or you can't pass the prove it tests that they have out there and that some people offer, that could be one of the reasons. You know, so you gotta get off your high horse if you're on one and realize that maybe I do need to take some additional training. You know, maybe I do. Maybe I don't know Excel or I don't know Access like I thought I did. Those analytical skills that I mentioned earlier that I did not have. That's something that I'm using all the time now. You know, you need to enhance your thinking and decision making skills. As you heard when I asked the question earlier to the young lady, it's really heavy out there. I have a family member that's all they do is behavior interviewing, and they really grill you on those behavior interviewers and will ask you the same question that they already asked you a different way. And so, you know, you need to make sure that you're practicing your answers in those interviews. You need to have communication skills, be able to think on your feet, formulate ideas. I already mentioned leadership skills, management of resources, being able to manage your resources, computer savvy, of course, teamwork experience, adaptability. I kind of mentioned that when I talked about the different generation gaps. You have to be adaptable to change, especially in this computer savvy age. We have you have 2007, 2010, 2013 all out at the same time. So you definitely have to be adaptable and willing to learn and adapt to change, because it's just not going anywhere. It's just going to continue to grow and get better and better. What am I looking at on time?
Was that?
How am I looking on time? I have no idea. Oh, okay.
I have one question before we go on. If proficient is the wrong word to use for your resume, what should you use that's not going to feel downgrading when the industry reads your resume?
That's a good question. So what I actually advise my students, if you're putting a resume out there, definitely for scannability purposes, you want to mention the softwares that you do know. You can always explain in the interview, you know, where your knowledge level is. But on the resume, if you have a knowledge of Word, you want to put Word 2007 on there. You don't have to list it as basic Word. Does that make sense? At least on your resume, the whole goal is to get that phone call. So on your resume, you do want to list it as a skill, but once you get to the interview, you want to be honest in explaining your knowledge level, because most places test now. How many of you have ever taken the Prove It test? Has anybody taken that? Yeah, they will test you. There's a test out there, and they email it to you. I know that part's true, and some people probably cheat and have someone else do the test for them. But at the end of the day, you still have to be the one to do the work. So let me tell you what proficient is to Microsoft. Proficient to Microsoft would be a combination of basic all the way up to the intermediate level to Microsoft. And the reason I say that is because when you're a Microsoft Office specialist, that means that you have passed that Microsoft exam. If you're a Microsoft Office specialist in Word, that means that you are proficient in Word. Well, let me not say that. You're a specialist, but what that covers is a basic to intermediate level. That's what it covers as far as if you had books in your hand. Okay? There's going to be a basic book and an intermediate book. Then you would be considered proficient, because there are so many people that use Word, they say that they're proficient in Word, but they cannot do a mail merge. They cannot do a mail merge. And then when the versions change, if you're not keeping your skills up, then here you go again with now you're not, you're borderline as to what your skill level is. You have to keep up with the technology. And it's not that difficult. I mean, you really can get on YouTube. There's a gazillion free videos out there, different people, different knowledge to teach you. There's another great site that I use, I think is GCF Free or GC, I'm trying to remember, GF Free Learn, something like that. A lot of great free material on how to use these different applications. So there are a lot of different methods for you to be able to do that. Any other questions? Did that answer you? Yes.
What are some ways that you can enhance your analytical skills? Like, yeah.
Well, that's going to probably take me back. I'm going back to the computer. Obviously, I do a lot on the computer. There are some sites also that have critical thinking and analytical. They're kind of like, I don't want to call them tests, but it's basically like a guide to help you enhance those skills, and it'll have like a series, like it might have a story, a situation, and then it'll tell you what not to do and then tell you what to do type of situations. I could suggest something like that. Other than outside of taking a class, then probably just using the internet as a resource. That's what I find myself doing, because they have tests on the critical thinking also. And I've taken one before, and those are some hard tests. They are hard tests. I'm reading it, and I'm reading it, and I'm reading it, and I'm like, what? What are they asking me? And so they are some tough tests. So I would spend an hour, a day, and look up those different resources that they have and just try to get a feel, because it's not one of those ones that they're hard to perfect. And I realize that. So it's something that you would, it's an acquired skill. You just have to practice with that one.
Lisa, 5 more minutes, because I'm not sure. Leon, is there a class after this?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Okay. Yes.
I want to make sure that there is no class after this.
Okay.
What would you recommend, because I know like a vast majority of us are seniors, and a lot of us are already in the workforce, we're kind of sort of on a certain concentration, and want to move into more of a corporate American type of workforce. So what would you suggest as far as the direction we should go? Because I know you mentioned to gain a real world work experience. I know that's very, very, very important, but as well as education. So what would you say, I guess I just use me. My plan was to go ahead and go into grad school in January.
Right.
But then after having an interview with my capstone professor, we discussed that getting that real world work experience was very important as well. So then he kind of mentioned to me about going to the temp agency that specializes in a particular field that I'm looking into. And versus going right into my grad level, just kind of moving that maybe a semester back, just to gain that real work experience. And then while I'm in that process, I can go ahead and go into my grad level courses.
I actually agree with your capstone professor, especially in your situation. If you're not in what it is that you're working towards, then gaining some work experience, real world work experience in that particular industry, I think that would be definitely advantageous for you. So, and that really applies, to anyone. If there's a certain industry that that you want to go into, then you need to seek out people that are in that industry. And even if it's not you seeking them out in person, if you're having a hard time with doing that, there's LinkedIn. You know, and it's just a matter of what you put out, how much you put out, so that you can receive something back from someone. There are people, I talk to people all the time that I don't know through LinkedIn that are very professional, give great insight, give good advice, join those groups, because LinkedIn, you don't have to talk to people one-on-one necessarily. They have groups that put out a lot of information. So, you know, do a search on that particular industry that you're interested in, and then communicate with people and share with them through LinkedIn, and or even find out if they have if there's a professional organization in that particular industry. Get involved in that as well, because maybe you might be able to start off volunteering, interning, something just to get you in the door, or even find someone that will mentor you. You're welcome. Any other questions?
So what did you find to be your most successful marketing?
My most successful marketing? Probably right now, my most successful marketing, because we just rebranded. I went out there and I said, I'm going to hire a web designer. I don't want to deal with it anymore. She rebranded us. She maintains our website. And we have Constant Contact, which some people have heard of. And if you are in marketing, you definitely want to if you're in marketing, you can't just do you just can't do old school marketing. Let me put it to you that way. You have got to just immerse yourself in all the new technology, because I'm one of those people that, and Constant Contact would be my answer to that. The email marketing is professional email marketing. My students, our clients can pay through that, and they can do everything through Constant Contact, and it's real professional. But one of the things that one of the reasons I want to say that if you are in marketing, why you need to immerse yourself into all the different avenues that small businesses like myself are looking for is, for example, SMS texting. Oh my gosh. Every time Chick-fil-A pops up on my phone, I'm going to Chick-fil-A, because I get that text that tells me, you buy a Chick-fil-A sandwich, you get the fries free, or, something to that effect. Or every time I get that SMS, Redbox, it's free tonight, just put this code in, I'm going to Redbox. So, it's an excellent way of marketing, and if you're not familiar with it, you're missing out. And it's inexpensive. And it's a way that people like me can reach the masses just from hitting one button. SMS text, I can hit one button and reach 1,000 people. Who doesn't look at their smartphone? Y'all all look at your smartphone. Some of you are probably looking at it right now. So, just to give you an example, marketing has definitely changed. There's just too many methods now of ways to market to the masses. And I found that Constant Contact for us right now has been the most successful, but we're getting ready to get into this SMS thing.
Lisa, one more question, but make sure you go through your services for that fellow who asked about your level of services.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes, to answer your question about the different classes that we have and the prices, what we basically have, just to give you a quick synopsis, twice a month we have free lunch and learns, absolutely free. And I have my business cards up here, and I'll just, leave them up here. If you want to get one, you can come and grab a business card. But lunch and learns are free twice a month. I just pick a topic, a random topic. All you have to do is call and register, say you want to sit in. We also have workshops that are like $30. For example, like someone wants to learn about pivot tables, but that's all. You don't want the whole entire Excel class. You just need to learn about pivot tables. We have $30 workshops for things like that. Our full classes range anywhere from $149 to $199. Those usually are like 9-hour classes, like a Tuesday, Thursday, Tuesday, something like that in the evening. And that would be like a Excel basic, Access, intermediate, Word, different classes like that. But that's just a real quick synopsis of how the price structure works for the classes. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we got one more question. Then before that, Dr. Jordan has a message he wants to convey to you before you leave. Okay, just make sure. So one more question, Lisa.
One more question. My girl in the yellow.
Okay, I know you were talking about expanding to different location. But have you ever thought about the different avenues as far as online or online teaching, online training for those particular, for those services that you offer?
Yes, that is in the plan as well. That's a very good question. We're not trying to leave out, our target market is primarily people who don't know anything about the computer or know very little. However, we're not leaving out those people that are intermediate advanced levels who feel like they could actually sit at home and they could do like a webinar or something to that nature, a virtual class. So that is something that we're looking at doing as well. So yes. Thank you all. A special thanks of you, those who were forced to come here just to get some points for class. Thank you all as well.
Okay, before I present Ms. Williams with the gift, I want to make an announcement. Happy to see there's at least a third of you that are interested in entrepreneurship. We have entrepreneurship courses. In the spring, we're going to start offering a concentration and a minor in entrepreneurship and innovation. So I hope you'll consider that. I'd like to thank Ms. Williams for your time. Appreciate your providing the information to our students. It's obvious that they've learned a lot from you. And I want to thank you for coming and doing this.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.